Yesterday was my 6-month anniversary, and it was 82 days since we did our last report at 100 days. So we know that Angelenos want to see progress. We want to talk about challenges we've had. We want to talk about solutions, and we want to talk about the way forward. We believe that the emergency obviously continues, but we do see a way forward. We know that pretty soon we will hear about the point-in-time count. And one concern that I have had and will continue to have is with the protections from COVID going away, an increase in people losing their housing, which is why we have been very aggressive in getting the word out that the City Council passed tenant protections. So just to go through a few headlines. You know that Inside Safe has been one of our programs, one of the ways that we are addressing homelessness. And Inside Safe has been working well, and we've been clearing street encampments by housing people. But really over these last few months, what you've seen from this office has been a pilot program. Now that we have a budget for a year, we can look back at Inside Safe at what we have learned, and we can move forward. We want Inside Safe to be citywide. Our goal would be to take it to scale so we could be clearing encampments and getting people housed at multiple council districts at the same time. We're not there yet, but at least with the passage of the budget, it will allow us to move forward in that direction. We're also seeing changes in vouchers, and that had been one of the commitments that I made coming into office, that we were going to, in a much better and bigger way, right, Doug? And we've been working on that. Yes. Use the vouchers that we've had. And the executive directive that I signed to cut red tape, you'll be hearing more about that. And we're actually looking to institutionalize that beyond an executive directive. But that directive was to cut the red tape and significantly reduce the times on building and the cost of it. So we definitely have seen the benefits of locking arms, and we'll talk about that in terms of the historic agreement with the White House, cooperation from the state, and renewed cooperation between the city and the county. We have been discovering along the way out-of-date policies and bureaucratic practices that we have been able to put aside, and that we are creatively working around several shortcomings, which you will hear about. But what's most important that I said at 100 days and continues to be true, that people do want to go inside. Over 1,300 people have moved inside with Inside Safe, and a very, very small number have been resistant. Encampments, people have been housed, and they have not been repopulated. Neighbors and businesses report an improved quality of life, and the first areas that we cleared were in December, and they continue to be clear. And we do believe that throughout the city and the county family, that there is a renewed sense of urgency and focus. So a few of the things we found. One, we have a broken system, but we believe now that it's under repair. And fortunately, we have new leadership at LASA. We have found multiple weaknesses in the system, and in our work, we're trying to address that. You've heard me say all along that motels is what we're using on an emergency basis, but long-term, that is not sustainable. We have to come up with a permanent way of doing interim housing. The community-based organizations that we've been working with have done everything they can, but we have stretched them way beyond their capacity. Wraparound services are lacking, especially drug treatment, but we also have a remedy for that in the council budget. And data has been a real issue, and you'll see from this presentation that we're going to talk about numbers that are pretty dramatically different from 100 days. So at 100 days, we have discovered we did an undercount. We reported that 4,000 people were housed. It turns out that that number was really 8,000. And over the last 80 days, 6,000 more people have been housed. So that number is more accurately at 14,000. And we have all of our data people here who will explain to you what was and what we know is the case now. And so the reality is that the first 6 months, we would consider a pilot. And as I said, because we now have a budget, we can institutionalize what we have been doing for the last 6 months, and we're ready to do that. So what we want to do today, just like we did at 100 days, is to go through the good, bad, and ugly, let you know all that we have learned. And I want to introduce our partner, Dr. Valicia Adams-Kellum. I know you've been talking to her throughout, but at 100 days, she was a consultant with the mayor's office, and shortly after that, took over as the CEO of LAHSA. You also will remember that she is the one that created Inside Safe, and frankly, because of her leadership and her efforts to address the challenges at LAHSA, we have been cleaning up the data and can give you more accurate information. She's getting LAHSA on track, and I look